All right, beautiful people. Today we are talking about one of the most important things that you could possibly do for your life and business. And it is gaining massive amounts of clarity. It is cutting out distractions, and it is getting so focused on what it is in front of you that you have to get done for your life and your business. We're going to go over clarity is power. The strategy for number one, how to cut the noise. Write it down, cut the noise. Number two, ask better questions. And what are the exact questions to ask? And number three, how to decide, then refine. This is a masterclass. This is a spitball of game. We talked about being salt of the earth yesterday.
Yeah.
We went over biblical principle of how to really become a salt of the earth individual. And now we're talking about really how to get the clarity of what things mean, how to get the clarity of, okay, I get I need to be the salt of the earth. I get I need to build this business, but there's so many business models and there's so many people and there's so many apps and there's so many everything.
Overwhelming sometimes.
Overwhelming. How do we choose? Andrew.
Yes.
You now have a better understanding of clarity over the past couple of years.
For sure.
What do you think is the absolute benefit? What do you think is the power of now having the ability to say, this is what I need to do, this is what's making money, this is the revenue piece I need to focus on, or this is the relationship I need to focus on? What is the benefit now?
What gets focused on gets fixed. What gets focused on gets fixed. Type it in the chat. What does that mean? Where your focus goes, that's where revenue will follow, connection will follow, whatever the category is in your life. If it's relationships, don't put any focus there for a period of months. The relationship will inevitably go downhill.
They can't hear anything.
Uh-oh.
Why?
Check 1, 2.
Can you guys hear us?
Can you guys hear us okay?
If one person says they can't hear us, we stop the whole thing until people can hear us.
In reality, the volume's just turned down.
I know. if you guys can hear us, somebody type yes, and we're just going to keep going. Okay, everyone's got it.
Got
Rock
it.
and roll.
All right. Okay. All right, good. So in order to focus on the thing that needs fixing, right, if that was your business, and what can tend to happen is, I call it brain boogie. All these things start going in our mind. I need to walk the dog. I need to make sure I grab the groceries. I need to make sure I sweep the floor. I need to make sure I take care of the dishes. But I need to make sure I go take care of this thing. Oh, and I need to call the seller back. Oh, and I need to call the client. Oh, and I need to. And we have these things, and our mind doesn't differentiate order of importance. A small little check takes care of the house cleaning, right? A small little check takes care of most of these things. The one thing that you do is the income generating revenue in the sake of business. If we're talking about life or relationships, that's a whole nother story. So how do we make sure we're putting ourselves in a place to where we can focus and become clear on the objective?
So lesson number one, type it in the chat, cut the noise. Clarity starts with subtraction, not addition. We think about this all the time. The most successful people we know are the ones who are able to say no.
Right.
They're the ones who are able to look at opportunity costs. Also type that in the chat, opportunity cost.
That's a big one.
If I'm looking between two things I'm doing today, one is I'm going to make a bunch of sales calls today. One is someone invited me out to an event. Okay, cool. Two good things I could do.
Yeah.
One of them is sales calls. For example, if we're doing sales calls, we might make anywhere between $0 to $1 million.
Right.
Day, depending on what we're selling.
Depending on the sale.
But let's just say it could be a $50,000 day. Okay. And the event is a networking event for beginner real estate investors. That's okay. That one's going to be it's a 6-hour event, and I'm going to make calls for 6 hours. What's the opportunity cost? $50,000 here to doing sales calls, or you look at the networking event. Okay, it's a real estate event. Who could I meet? Could I meet a private money lender? Could I meet my next business partner? Could I meet a couple clients that make me eventually a certain amount?
Yeah.
Okay, then I can see the opportunity cost maybe on this real estate meeting is more. But then let's just say somebody else invites you to a party.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone gets invited to parties nowadays, but we sometimes get invited to parties to go out. And it's a late night, and it's a 6-hour 4-hour party. The opportunity cost there is you go there and you don't make sales calls, so you don't make 50,000. Okay, so you lose quote unquote 50,000, and you didn't go to the networking event, so you maybe lost 4 core relationships, and then you went to this party to go drink and talk and smoke cigars.
Yeah.
And what happens there is maybe a little bit of your health goes down. Maybe a couple of bad decisions go down. You wake up groggy, and the next day you don't make sales calls too, so you lose out another $50,000. That is opportunity cost. It is the cost of everything that you're doing, every decision that you're making.
That's such a good explanation, because I think it's easy to just go with the flow. It's easy to just go with, I wasn't raised around a lot of money, so I didn't understand the opportunity cost of maybe changing my own oil. Changing your own oil in the car, when that takes an hour, and you could hire somebody else to take your car, get the oil changed for $100, right? So now you start to weigh, how does this impact my life? Or the opportunity to go out, but not to get to spend that time with family or people I love and care about. Yep. So now, as you relate it, we all only have so many hours of focus. We all have so many hours in a day, 24 to be exact, and we use those, we spend those however we see fit.
Opportunity cost can come with anything.
Yeah.
With relationships. If you choose, just imagine this, you chose the wrong friend or woman or person or business partner, and you spend 2-3 years with that person, and they drain you of those 2-3 years, versus if you had just chosen the right person. Imagine if you and I were never partners and we both chose someone who tried screwing us over.
Yeah.
4 years went by, and now we're in a big lawsuit.
Bringing back bad memories.
That we would have lost 4 years of what we had built over the past 4 years of growth, of being godly men, of creating awesome things, of creating our community, because we had just chose the wrong person.
But you can never get back, by the way.
You can't get those years back. So you waste those years.
You learn from it, but that's the best you get.
So clarity, again, starts with subtraction, not addition. You go and look at your life and see, what can I remove? What can I get rid of? What can I honestly, just what can I remove? Yeah. Before you start adding a bunch of things in.
That's so powerful, Leo, because what you just described, is something that I think everybody we're faced with, right? We get in analysis paralysis. We get in the mode, and sometimes we jump too quick into things that distract us.
Right.
And then at other times, we sit on the valley of decision for months or years going, what if? And so understanding that once you have that intuitive feeling, once, for me, a big decision, I talked to God about it. Once you have that clarity, then move with full speed, but not until you have that clarity.
Do you have a pen?
I do.
So one thing that you were saying is being able to sit down with those thoughts, being able to see them and make those decisions.
Yeah.
I think about this all the time, is that people can't hear anymore. They can't discern. They can't listen. They can't hear their own thoughts. Is there any tea in there?
There it is.
It's
white tea.
When your tea is not brewed and it's just hot water. You can't hear your calling over constant comparison. That's what we have written down here. You can't hear your calling over constant comparison. If you are always drowning out your mind with music, with negative thoughts, with other people's thoughts, with comparing yourself on social media to other people, you can't hear what it is you're supposed to be doing.
So true.
You can't even see the direction. You can't even look at, what do I need to do next? Because all your thoughts, all your mental capacity is filled up with negative thought, filled up with comparison, which is negative thought.
Yeah.
How then is it that people can start to hear their thoughts again?
Well, the first thing is put the phone away. And I share that because I get up in the morning. Most morning, I woke up at 4:30 this morning. I get up early, and I have a little sitting area where I sit upstairs when I get up, first thing of a morning. And when I'm sitting there, thoughts start to come to my mind. I start to get inspiration, get ideas, get good things.
At 4 a.m., by the way.
At 4 a.m. and then something happens. Inevitably, I'll think, I should text or add this reminder to my phone or something. I'll grab my phone, and I have to be very intentional about this. I'll add the thing, and if I'm not very careful, I'm like,
slip into Facebook.
Let me go ahead and just post on Facebook real fast. Let me go ahead and respond to a couple comments. Let me check the DMs. And if I'm not very intentional, it could be 30 minutes later, and I'm sitting there. Of course, I can justify it. It's work. We get revenue from Facebook. We get deals from Facebook. Except that sitting time early in the morning is meant for thinking time, is meant for creativity, not to get sucked into social media. And so understanding, when you type it in the chat, become intentional. You become intentional with your time and your focus. And you realize that, wait a second, sometimes I just have to put the phone away. Sometimes I just take a minute and focus.
The Bible says, be still and know that I am God.
Mm.
And I think about that. And in the moments when it's the most quiet and I'm not on my phone, especially in the morning because I'm not drowned out by all the pollution of social media, that's when I can hear. That's when I can actually listen. And it's when I get the greatest ideas. However, it's a discipline every single day to check the phone. But of course, look at the phone, stop the alarm, put it away, and get as far away from it as possible. Because I imagine if God's saying, let me speak to you, right? Let me speak to my son. And the first thing you do when he's trying to speak to you is you're just on the phone. You're on the phone all day, and then you get stressed out, and you start to worry, right? You start to worry about these things, which goes against so much of what is in the Bible about worrying, because you're not trusting. You're not trusting in his provision and his promises. And instead, you're going on the phone and trying to do things in your own way.
And think about, you go on the phone, get the weather. You know how it says the air pollution, air quality?
Right.
I think about that in terms of thought pollution.
There's so much thought pollution going on, guys. So you need to create a space for reflection. And it doesn't mean you have a nice, beautiful couch upstairs that is just zenned out with a nice carpet and there's nice, what is the air purifier coming out? It doesn't mean that, because we didn't have that before. Now we do, because we've intentionally created that space. But before, we've had to find spaces, even if it was just in our minds. Create a little bit of space where you just close your eyes and you meditate. And I like to now meditate on Scripture because it actually gets me in that state, gets me in that flow, and keeps my eyes fixed on where I need to be. And in that moment, I get a quiet mind. A quiet mind, type in the chat, quiet mind equals clear direction. When you just have a moment of silence in your mind where you're not worried about things, you're now in a state of flow and you're at a state of clarity, which I think we just answered the question. We can end the live right now.
That was it.
Get in a quiet space and reflect. Reflect on the good. Don't dwell on the past. Reflect on the good. Let's keep this going to lesson number 2.
This is one of my favorites. Ask better questions. How do we ask better questions, Leo?
That's a good question. So clarity lives on the other side of intentional questions. If I want to get clear of what's going through Andrew's mind, what am I going to ask him? What's on your mind? Right?
Yeah.
Because you're simply going to start to speak your mind out, and I will get some clarity there. And your words, your questions are like your swords, right? It's like your weapons. You'll notice if I'm ever having a coaching call with you or if I'm in a discussion with you, I will always ask you, what's going through your mind? How are you feeling? Because those questions will very soon give me the clarity of where we need to go next. Okay, it's always a direction. Okay, what's going through your mind? I'm a little bit stressed. Why? What's going on? Okay, I'm stressed because A, B, and C said this and a seller said this and I just lost this much money. Okay, what does that mean? How do you feel about that? What do you think we need to do next? Oh, okay. So instead of saying, "Oh no, it sucks, man," I hate to hear that, right? It's what do we need to do next? What is the next step? Oh, maybe I just need to call the bank. Okay, when are you going to call the bank? Oh, I can call them tomorrow. Why tomorrow? You can call them today. Yeah, let's call them today. Let's solve the problem right away. You just ask questions, intentional questions, to get the clarity, get the answer. But this is me and someone else.
Yeah.
You have to do this for yourself.
That's a game changer.
When you're tripping out, oh my God, all these things, you say, hold on, Leo. What do we need to do next? What is the one thing that if I do today, that if I do right now, would make everything else irrelevant or easy?
That's such a powerful one. Because it's easy in business. It's easy in life to get caught up. And I don't self-proclaim this, so you almost never hear me say it, but I am such an ADHD person. I'm a person who, if I'm not very careful, I can easily be making a note, and halfway through that note, go start an email because it popped in my mind, and halfway through that email, go start a tab of a training I was supposed to be doing, and halfway through the tab, go to Docs and start a document if I'm not very careful. Why? Because I can tend to just jump because I have a lot of things rolling through my mind. But if we become intentional and we start to ask intentional questions of ourselves, like Leo just said, that will change everything, because now, rather than sitting there in what do I do next, because there's so much to do, we just do the next thing.
I like that. Ask yourself a series of questions. Have like a tool belt, guys, of a journal. And honestly, journaling is one of the most important things you could do, because you will ask yourself a question and literally answer it right in front of you. A lot of people don't have the discipline to just ask themselves the question because they'll start worrying about other things. And this is why we like to anchor things so much down to the Bible, because it is written in stone. And I don't have scripture right in front of me. However, I want you guys to understand, the more questions that you have to be able to answer for yourself in certain moments, the more disciplined you're going to be able to be in focusing on what you need to focus on. You ask yourself, what problem am I really solving right now? For who and why right now? Because every time you ask a question, right? I think of my brain. Every time you ask a question, you open a door, and that door opens up to different pathways.
Yeah.
So now you have to just choose which way you want to go next. But a lot of people who are small-minded, they stay trapped in a dome, and they see the doors, but they just never open it. They never open up the question.
For months or years.
For months or years, they stay trapped. But finally, when you ask, like, what am I doing with my life? Right? And that's why we made a reference to years ago of if people ever get in a car accident, right? Sometimes they're like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
Ooh, all of a sudden, all these doors open up, and they start to change their life.
So make the change now and determine, what are you solving? Who are you solving it for? Why are you doing it now? Once you can answer those questions and get clarity, everything in your life can come together in a way you never dreamed possible.
Let's give this to them. Where's my binder? It's over there. It's okay. So what I usually do, I have a notebook. We have like 9. Andrew has his right here. But we always carry one of these notebooks like we had at school, like the college ruled ones. Okay? And they're 99 cents. You get them anywhere, and you just buy 20 of them because you're going to run through them. We understand the power of not keeping everything in your mind. Because we think of your mind, it has maybe 30% capacity. No yawning. It has about 30% capacity to hold your thoughts. And if you go on social media, boom, it's taken up. It's 30% capacity.
Yeah.
So you're going to need a place to be able to write things down, write down your notes, write down your ideas, and write down your to-do list. How many times do you think you write down the things you have to do throughout the day?
Oh, gosh. At least 10, maybe 20.
10 times throughout the day?
Yeah.
And it's also because he has 100 things
now,
to do.
Here's what I mean by that. I don't make a whole entire list 10 times a day. I make a whole entire list once a day. But every meeting I'm on, or every time Gail, my assistant, texts me about something, every time there's something pops up, or every time I get a text and I commit to something, if I can't do it in that moment, it gets jotted on my very messy notepad to then be followed up with my assistant to calendar it, to delegate it, to do it, or whatever the action step behind it is. Because otherwise there is thousands of open tabs in my brain, and things inevitably will get missed. And I think this is such a powerful example of business owners, entrepreneurs, family people, whoever you are, to be able to look at your life and what's going on and say, okay, everybody has a lot to do. You know, whether you're running one business, just starting a business, just running a family, or running 3 or 4 businesses, you have a lot to do. So how can I put in the reps? How can I develop the frame of action that gives me the ability to grow? Because ultimately, as you grow, at the level you grow is what level your revenue can come up to. It's the level your personal growth can come up to, your personal development. It's the level of which your joy and happiness can come up to, is the level at which you grow You expand into helping others. You allow yourself to stretch out into new areas you thought you couldn't before.
So my mind is cooking up right now. It's like, what is the thing that they can start doing? And I think it is just using a pen and paper every day.
It is a game changer.
But it's what we write down. It is the to-do steps that we have to write down, the decisions that we have to make, how we feel throughout the day. Rate yourself 1 out of 10. How do you feel in a certain area? And that will in turn get to the point where you said, hey, you go to Gail, you go to our VA and say, hey, can you schedule this? Can you get this done? Can you get this done?
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want people to be overwhelmed here. I would rather them start taking a pen and paper and starting to write, starting to get things just out of their head onto paper, out of their head onto paper. Write it down, out of your head onto paper. If you could just do that one thing today, it will make everything else inevitable, because you have started the greatest process that you can ever do for yourself, and that is cutting the noise out of your mind. Now you might say, Leo, I already do that. Okay, let's go to step 2. Write down everything that you have to do. It's kind of an overwhelming thing, but it's life. You write down every single thing that you have to do in life and business and relationships, taxes, all these things that you have to do. And at least you have it there. And then start playing around, because there's many different tools that you can use, but it all has to do with using a pen and paper. You can start to circle the things that you can get done in under 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And if just today you got all those things done, boom, 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 now you have half the list or a quarter of the list.
It reminds me of the Dave Ramsey debt snowball. Not that I'm a Dave Ramsey fan, because I like debt, but good debt. But I always heard Dave Ramsey on the radio talk about paying off the little credit cards first. And it always settled with me to be a powerful example of what we can do with our to-do list. Because as we're building our to-do list, we go, okay, what's the next thing that I can do? What's the next thing that I can handle? Because if you say, gosh, I need to build out this whole thing, I need to call 1,000 sellers, you're not going to get that done today. That's going to be overwhelming. But if you say, hey, I need to return a phone call, I need to take care of X, I need to respond to X, and I need to email so-and-so, I need to take care of the kids here, I need to take care of my spouse's situation here, whatever it is for you, you can put down that next to-do thing, and you can knock out the little short things and mark off that list in a big way. And now everything else that don't get done immediately gets added to the calendar for later, or handed off to wherever it should be handed off to.
So let's go to lesson 3, because probably the most important, because most people are held back by inaction. Number 3, write it down, type it in the chat. Decide, then refine. Decide, then refine. Clarity doesn't always come before action. Sometimes it's going to follow it. Sometimes you're going to take some messy action and realize that, hey, I need to get better at sales. Sometimes you're going to do the sales call and realize, hey, I don't even know how to follow up. Sometimes you're going to create an offer and realize that you don't have the fulfillment ready for it. But at least you made that first step. And it goes back to us saying that you're opening doors. You're opening the doors to new places, but if you never take the action of actually opening the door, you're never going to see the directions that you can go. So decide, then refine. You gain clarity by doing, and once you do it, you reflect for a moment. You say, hey, what did I learn from that? Or what happened from posting my first piece of content? I was a little bit nervous. Why? And then you adjust.
That's such a powerful statement, Leo. And clarity doesn't come before action. That's crazy, because so many times I think we're programmed to think, well, move once you are clear, right? Yep. Once you know everything, well, you're never going to know all the steps till you do it. Do we educate ourselves? Of course. Do we get around winners? Of course. Do we get clear on our next action? Absolutely. But you're never going to see perfect. I could not have envisioned, while I did envision a successful future a decade ago, I could have never envisioned we'd be sitting here doing this. I couldn't think that big. My goal was to make $2,000 a month when I started in 2014. It's like, if I could just make $2,000 a month, I'll be rich one day. And so that was the extent of what my thought process was at that moment. So understanding the clarity is revealed through the actions we take. I know that's a repeating kind of what you said in a different way, but that was a powerful point for you guys to take home.
People stay stuck here a lot.
Yeah.
And it's really, really sad to see, especially in our space where, people who are always trying to do business, right? People who have watched some YouTube videos before and they say, this didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I tried this for 2 days. It didn't work. And they don't realize that they didn't take enough action. They didn't fail enough. They didn't actually do the hard work to find out that it takes a lot of hard work to learn sales. But if you just pick up the top 5 sales books right now, study it, get into a rabbit hole of like, oh, okay, I can just start using this on my next calls. And you get better and you use the thing that you're doing, call it sales calls, as the campus, as the university for you to implement the books that you're reading or implement the courses that you're taking or implement the coaching that you're doing. It doesn't matter what it is, but you have to have something to be your campus. This right here, this live show is our campus to learn the Bible more. It's our campus to learn how to speak, timing, tonality. This is our campus to do that.
And practice our podcast voice.
Exactly. And we understand that a year from now, we're going to be in a position where much more people are listening. We're on bigger stages, but we're going to be so glad that we spent 365 days practicing this podcast voice and how to redirect things.
And how to use words.
how to use big words, how to increase our comprehension. So you have to have something to develop yourself in. And a lot of people I didn't go to college, but I did understand that that's why college was there, is because you go through assignments, you go through projects, and you take whatever they're teaching and you use it in whatever they teach. I was like, okay, let me just do that in my life so I don't have to go sit in a desk because I'm super ADHD. And it worked out really well.
Yeah.
But everyone has to do that if they want to learn anything.
I'll say, you often hear me say you can make money or you can make excuses, but you can't make both.
Yep.
Type it in the chat. Do, reflect, adjust. Do, reflect, adjust.
Draw.
Do, reflect, adjust. What does that mean? That is how we gain clarity. We take the action. Leo's talking about that. We take the action. We ask ourselves, hey, what could I do different or better? And then we make smart adjustments along the way. It's not going to be perfect the first time. Probably not going to be perfect the 100th time. But it's going to continue to adjust. We're going to continue to get better every single day because we continue to put in the action.
100%. 100%. Do, reflect, adjust. Go to the gym and realize, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, reflect. Hey, what do I need to do? Okay, maybe I should watch a couple YouTube videos on how to lift. Okay, cool. And then you go the next time you start lifting, and then someone's like, hey, let me fix your form. And you're like, okay. And then you fix your form. And then the next day you know how to do it. And it's like, wow, that was 3 days of me not knowing how to gym, then now knowing how to gym and then practicing it. And now I've been working out for the past 4 days. Can I do the same thing with sales? Can I do the same thing with engineering? Can I do the same thing with learning how to make tea? Can I do the same thing with learning how to do this live show and having all these different things?
We traded places.
Can I do the same thing with real estate? Can I do the same thing with offers? Can I do the same with anything? Yes, but you have to do, reflect, and adjust. You can't just reflect, get sad because you didn't do anything, and then reflect on the sadness. And I'm reflecting on how sad I am about reflecting on my sadness. And 5 years have passed and I didn't do shit.
Guys, this is a game changer. Go ahead.
Do, reflect, adjust.
So as you are asking yourself where you want to be, ask yourself, is the things I'm doing today taking me toward that thing? And the reality is that most of the things that we do are not actually taking us to where we say we want to go. It was the truth for me for years. I didn't know what it was. It's 2014. We didn't have the internet back then. I'm joking. But 2014, I was like Googling how to buy houses, right? Like I didn't know you could go find opportunity in this way. And so our objective is to consistently inspire you to go out and to reflect, to adjust, to connect, to plug in, to meet people, and to get closer to your goals.
So that's it, guys. That is power. And let's end it off here. When you do have clarity now, you always know the direction that you can go, and you always can wake up and say, like, I at least know what I'm going to do
Yeah.
because I'll just do. I'll do what I have on my paper, and I'm just going to get that done, and it's going to lead me to another path.
Absolutely.
And it's going to get me to the next step. And that right there is confidence. That right there is the understanding that no matter what, because I'm going in a direction, I chose a business model that I like. I chose a financial model that I like, right? If I make this much, I put 10% here, I put 10% towards investments, I put 10% here. I know as long as I execute every day and I reflect and I adjust, money's always going to be okay. My family's always going to be okay. My health is always going to be okay. My spirituality is always going to be okay. My tribe is always going to be okay. My environment's always going to be okay. I'm always going to be okay because I'm moving in that direction.
Yeah.
It's the people who don't have that yet consistency and clarity are the ones who have the insecurity of, what if I don't make enough? What if my health, what if this happens to my health? What if this happens in my life?
Yeah.
It is power. Clarity is power. Type it in the chat and really mean it when you're typing it down, that clarity is power. It is the force that moves you throughout life, that makes you an executor. It makes you a good man. It makes you a great woman. It makes you a great leader. It makes you someone who's able to run your business at the highest levels and be able to inspire everyone else around you to do the same thing.
So whatever it is that you are meant to be doing, or the thing that you know is your next step, and take the action, make the move, just do it. Whether you do it tired, do it scared, just do it.
We should make that a tagline. Truka, just do it.
Truka, just do it.
It doesn't exist. I've never heard of it before. Hey guys, have a fantastic day. Truka, just do it. Nike, don't sue us.